What's up guys, it's Ryan, and we got a massive news update on the PlayStation 5. These brand new details are coming from both the article by PlayStation themselves and from Wired, who both wrote articles on these topics. Today, I want to go over both of these articles and give you guys the rundown on what was revealed, as well as my thoughts on them. Let's get rolling, soldiers. Starting off here with the PlayStation article by President and CEO of the Sony Interactive Entertainment, Jim Ryan, giving us a fairly short article talking about brand new things with the PlayStation 5, adaptive triggers, and the new haptic technology. Let's start from the beginning. Since we originally unveiled our next generation console in April, we know that there's been a lot of excitement and interest in hearing more about what the future of games will bring. Today, I'm proud to share that our next generation console will be called the PlayStation 5 and will be launching in time for holiday 2020. I think both of the points brought up here were fairly obvious, to be honest, both the name of being obvious and the season release window, but it's nice to get confirmation nonetheless. So, holiday 2020 for the PlayStation 5. After referring to the Wired article, which I'll be talking about in a bit, we then get some details on the brand new controller with the PS5. To quote Jim Ryan, he says, the quote, more refers to something that I'm quite excited about, a preview of the new controller that will ship with the PlayStation 5. One of our goals of the next generation is to deepen the feeling of immersion when you play games, and we had the opportunity with our new controller to reimagine how the sense of touch can add to that immersion. First off, I should point out that it seems obvious to me that the new PS5 controller will most likely have some sort of touchpad implemented into it. I say this because, if you don't know, Sony confirmed months ago that the PS5 would be backwards compatible with the PS4 and its games. There are a plethora of games on the PS4 that use the touchpad either optionally or mandatorily, so they'll have to implement that in some way, or some games wouldn't even work properly. Going back to the article here, Jim Ryan says that there are two new innovations with the PS5 controller. To quote, first, we're adopting haptic feedback to replace the rumble technology found in the controllers since the 5th generation of consoles. With haptics, you can truly feel a broader range of feedback, so crashing into a wall in a race car feels much different than making a tackle on the football field. You can even get a sense of variety in the textures when running through the fields of grass or plodding through the mud. This does sound pretty damn cool, even if I don't use rumble for a lot of my games personally. I think for the people that use it, it could really give some unique feeling for certain games, if implemented well by the developers. Good on you, Sony. The second innovation is, to quote Jim Ryan, the second innovation is something we call adaptive triggers, which have been incorporated into the trigger buttons, L2 and R2, and developers can program the resistance of triggers so that you feel the tactile sensation of drawing a bow and arrow or accelerating an off-road vehicle through rocky terrain. In combination with the haptics, this can produce a powerful experience that better simulates various actions. Game creators have started to receive early versions of the new controller, and we can't wait to see where their imagination goes with these new features at their disposal. Honestly, awesome! Adaptive triggers are a great innovation for the PS5's controller, and I really hope the Nintendos are going to be able to use this to their fullest potential. With one last bit about games releasing to the PS4, that's all for the article from Sony. However, I'd like to save further thoughts for the Wired article as it goes into much greater detail than this article here. Let's check it out! After reaffirming that the PS5 will be launching in holiday 2020 around the world, the Wired article moves on to talk about the hardware and specs for the console. Comparing it to Xbox's Project Scarlet, the PS5 will boast a CPU based on AMD's Ryzen line and a GPU based on its Navi family, which is also what the Project Scarlet is going to be using. It's also ditching the spinning hard drive and moving to a new solid-state drive, which was to be fairly expected with the load time improvements we've been hearing about. Already, this generation is going to be tackling load times a lot, which is something I'm incredibly happy to see. Long load has become a bit of a hassle, especially on games near the end of the PS4's lifespan, like Kingdom Hearts 3 for example. It's nice to see they're tackling these issues hard with improved performance. Wired was able to speak to Mark Cerny of PlayStation to share even more specifics about the PS5 and its specs. But before that, he wants to clarify something. Back when Wired had previously spoken of the system, he had spoken about the ability for it to support ray tracing, a technique that can enable complex lighting and sound effects in 3D environments. Given that he fears he was a bit too ambiguous in how this is going to be accomplished, Cerny said that it's not a software level fix, alleviating some of the worries that some people had previously. We then hear a bit more of the SSD included in the PS5, with Cerny saying this. If you look at games like Marvel's Spider-Man, there are some pieces of data duplicated 400 times in the hard drive. The SSD sweeps away the need for duplicating, so not only is its raw speed dramatically faster than a hard drive, but it saves space as well. He then says that it will of course differ depending on how developers use the space, with some possibly opting for a larger and more detailed game world, or some use it to shrink the size of games and the future patches for it. He also says that physical games to the PS5 will use 100GB optical discs inserted into an optical drive that doubles as a 4K Blu-ray player. He then moves on to talk about installation and how it's different from the PS4. According to Cerny, Sony is changing the way that you install games, making for a more simple installation and removal process. Quote, rather than treating games like a big block of data, we're allowing for finer-grained access to said data. So in simpler terms, this means you could have the ability just to install the game's multiplayer campaign, leaving the game's single-player campaign for another time. or you can just install the entire game and then delete individual things that were downloaded like the single player campaign. Yes, finally, this is already awesome. One of my biggest gripes for franchises, say like the Call of Duty series for example, is if I'd like to uninstall the DLC for future matchmaking, it means I have to uninstall the whole game and then reinstall it. It's just so much more of a hassle for something so simple, and I'm happy as hell that that's being redesigned for the PS5. Moving on, we then hear details about the brand new user interface or UI that the PS5 is going to be using. Sony states that, with the PS4's home screen, it at times feels frozen in amber, as they put it. You can see what your friends have done recently, or even what game title they may be playing at that moment, but without launching an individual title, there is no way to tell what single player missions you could do, or multiplayer matches that you can join. The PS5, however, is going to be changing that. Even though it will be fairly fast to boot games, Sony says, we don't want the player to have to boot up the game, see what's up, boot the game, see what's up. Multiplayer game servers will provide the console with a set of joinable activities in real time. Single-player games will provide information like what missions you could do, or rewards you might earn through completing them, and all these voices will be available in the UI. Though he didn't specify how the UI will look or anything about the SSD's size, I do like their idea for the UI. Albeit, I never really had any problems with the PS4s. I'm just hoping they'll keep some of the awesome things the PS4 had available. However, the writer from Wire found something fairly interesting when Sony handed him a prototype of the next generation controller, a matte black color, or doohickey as they call it, and it looks apparently a lot like the PlayStation 4's. However, the writer notices a small hole, which also is fairly similar to a patent Sony had filed for a voice-driven AI assistant for PlayStation. However, Sony had plainly said, we'll talk more about it another time, while another stated that some patents may have been in their products, maybe some don't. The idea of a voice AI assistant is interesting to me, but I don't think I'll use it too often. I do like the idea that it may be actually built into the controller, unlike say the Xbox One's Kinect, where it was something separate. They go into more detail about the rumble and such, before moving over to the specs again with the SSD and such. With Margot Thrush, who is the president of Bluepoint Games, who worked on the PS4's remake of Shadow of the Colossus, saying they're working on a big title right now. But with that said, that's really all there is to go over. Oh boy, that's a lot, isn't it? Honestly, the PS5 so far is looking to be not just a major step up power-wise than the PS4, but just a major step up for consoles as a whole. I'm happy that both Sony and Microsoft are pushing for the next generation to try and minimize load times and screens as much as they can, so they can further maximize the amount they can do with the game. My only worry is, with how much is in here so far, is the price. It's just a worry of mine. Are they going to make it $400 like the launch of the PS4, or are they going to do 2006 Sony and make it $600 like the early PS3 models? Of course, I'm hoping for the former. There's seriously so much potential with this system, I feel like the price is the only way for them to mess this up. But with that said, what are your guys' thoughts? Comment below and let me know. All articles in this video will also be in the description below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you guys back here with more news on the development of the PS5 and games in general. See you later guys. Signing off. Peace out.